Hi everybody, we've got a new set. If you have not seen them yet, this is from Kraftin Kimmie and it is Oh Holy Night. Let's see if you can see these. Here we go. It is a beautiful set. Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus, and a couple little animals to go along, and of course sentiments. So I've done a couple cards that I have been sharing, and I want to do a quick run through of a really simple scene. So I kept it really easy this year. I didn't try to do a bunch of masking and layering. I just wanted to use a few of the images. So I've got the two animals, baby Jesus and the star, and I'm going to focus on those and keep it super simple. So I'm going to pull my markers close, and we're just going to kind of fill them in as we go. So let's see. Let's do the animals first. Do some warm grays on them. So I'm going to use the W1, and I'm going to use that on all of the white portions of the cow. So kind of shading from the bottom up and around his little back end, from the bottom of his face up. Little bits on the ear. Those back legs are getting filled in. And we'll put a little bit underneath his chin. And I can use a colorless blender to fade that out. I'm going to use a really pale pink on his nose here in a minute, but I think we'll do that in a minute. I'm going to use a W1 on the little lamb also, but on this little guy, we're going to put a texture in. So I am using what I call squiggles. They're like a scribble. Most of you have seen this before if you have taken any classes from me. So it's just adding that texture in. And then I'm going to use a W3 to do a few more, again from the bottom up and around his little rump. Just a couple, and these can end up, when you're doing just a few of these, to more like little dots. Now, if you do this with darker colors, if you're concerned that what now you're seeing is just like scribbles, you don't see the texture, you can take a colorless blender and go back in, even just with a dot pattern on top of that, and it's going to soften some of that together and break that up, so it'll look a little more just like texture. So then on both animals, I'm going to do some darker portions as well. So I'm going to stay with the warm grays, but I'm going to go all the way up to a W, I think W5 and a W9. So on the cow, we're going to fill in the hooves. And on the little lamb, I'm going to go down. This is going to be one of those little guys that has the black face and then legs. So I'm going to try to be really careful on his little face, because I don't want to lose those details though. And I'm thinking about adding just a hint of that pink color on his nose too. Now, if I happen to lose the eyes, I could come back with an opaque white at the very end and get those guys. All right, and then I've got the W9 Come from the back side of each of those. And then the little underside of that little face. A little further over here on the right, since that star is going to bring that light down the center, I'm making sure that we get a little bit darker along the side away from the light. And we're gonna soften those together. There's the W5 again. And obviously that's a fairly big jump from the W9 to the W5. But one of the things I do like about working with the gray families, and this works whichever gray family you're working with, is they blend really easily together. You're not fighting the different dyes in each of the colors. The gray just tends to blend really easily. So you can make some of those big jumps a little more easily, which is really nice. Does make it easy to bring in, kind of make those bigger jumps and not worry about, oh, is this going to blend well together? We know it will. I don't know that I'd recommend, I definitely wouldn't try a 1 to a 9, but a 5 to 9 obviously works fairly well. None of these areas I'm leaving shiny. These are all dull. And so I'm not worried about leaving like a bright white highlight on any of them. What I am gonna do, I want a really kind of light. This is an R000. And I could do something a little bit darker, but I'm thinking really pale. Just for that hint of color on the cow. And of course on the cow I need to come back and do a spot. So that was the whole point, wasn't it? So I will do that here. Now I could fade this with the colorless blender again, but I really don't know that I need to. So I'm gonna leave that as is. Let me get you guys a little closer. Sorry, a little better. But I do want to get, and I don't know, let's see. I'm going to do this. I am going to, on the top spot, I'm going to do some of that W5. But since we have that little bit of shading from below, this is the type of coloring to me that ends up being really fun, because it's just, it does tend to be easier. I don't have to worry so much. It's a little bit simpler, and I can just enjoy. All right, so animals, yay. Set those to the side so I know what I used, because oftentimes I like to let people know what I'm using. On the star, I'm gonna use a lighter yellow, and you could use anything. I'm literally just grabbing markers out of my box that is sitting next to me. So I'm gonna use a light yellow. That was Y11. And then the colorless blender. I'm gonna keep those close because that's gonna come back into play. And then I've got the baby. I know. I'm going to use, yeah, I think I'm going to use that. We'll try this. Some E4s. I can find the one I want. Yep. So I'm going to go dark to light on this little blanket. And this is an E4-3. And I'm going to tuck that darker color in kind of around the baby, into those folds a little bit, where it tucks down into the hay, right next to its little face. That's the E4-3. Then E4-2 is going to kind of start on the E4-3 and pull that out a little further. One of the benefits of working from dark to light is it does some of the blending as you go, so I won't have to go back and blend those areas necessarily. And then E4-1. The E4s have an entire series, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, and upward. Not every single number is represented, but a whole lot of them are. And actually, I'm going to grab the 4-0 and I'm going to push that highlight back a little bit more, brighten it back up. There we go. So a series of E4s on the little face. Let's do a little more. Typically, I know the baby is oftentimes depicted really light, but we're going to do a little bit darker skin tone. So this is an E1-1. And I'm going to use just an E1-3 with that. Go right in across the top of the eye, around the outer edge. The only other thing you could do if you wanted is you could kind of come up one side of the little nose, but that is up to you. It's got that cute little nose on there. Now, it's so small and so fast, you may not need to blend those together. It might have done it for you, which it kind of did here. And then I'm going to test a little bit. Let's see. I need a piece of this paper. All right. Got another piece. I want to see if I've got E1-1 and E1-3. If I have that as a skin base, what color, if I wanted to pink up the cheeks, works? So this is an R83. My concern, if I go lighter, because a lot of times I'll use like an R21 or an E93, I think what's going to happen is this is going to bleach it out and actually lighten that 1-3. So thinking it's a cooler tone and that might go better. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to go with that R83 just a tiny bit. Rosy cheeks, newborn. And if you need to, you can always come back in really, really lightly and touch that with one or both of those earth tones just to kind of pull that down right into that color. I'm pretty happy with that. Excellent. Okay, so the two other things I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit, and one of my standard wood combinations is an E3-1 and an E3-5. So I start with the E3-1, and this doesn't have like a, basically we can see this wood through the hay. So I'm trying to be careful not to just cover that up, but to leave it. What I liked about this stamp, and I'll show you here in a second because I haven't colored it yet, is that makes it kind of nice. That kind of undefined hay made it easy to layer some stamps and not do a lot of work. Oh, that's a terrible way to put that, but it's true. So I'm adding a little bit of wood grain. This is the E3-5, but you can see how quick that is. If I try to slow that down, it doesn't work. I really have to just keep moving, and it actually, that little bit of wiggle in my hand works to my advantage and creates a little bit of that wood grain. If you wanted to soften that, you could do a wash of the lighter color really lightly over the top of it. Easy to do, very quick, very simple. Then with the hay, I'm thinking, not sure totally yet, so I'll bring this back over again, but I'm thinking some Ys, but I don't want them like, it's not bad. What could I use with it is the question. So these are actually some YRs. I like the little bit of yellow, so I'm going to stick with that. But then I think I want, something else with it. So this is an earth tone, a light one. That's not too bad. So I'm going to use these two colors. So I have an E or a Y. This is actually a Y, not a YR. It's a Y 2-3. And I don't really want the white showing, so I am trying to fill in those white areas. But as it comes out to the edge, I'm trying to keep it loose. That'll be a little bit of a challenge when I put a bit of a background in, but we'll see how that goes. All right, and then this is an E5-3. All right, that's pretty good. So what I need to do is I'm going to add a ground, and then I'm going to add the sky. The ground is not going to be super exciting, folks. So I am actually going to fast forward through that section, and then I will slow down again so you can see maybe the sky. But both of them, at the very least, I will voice over the sky. Let's do that because the sky takes longer too. So I'm going to bring this in a little bit. I'm not going to go all the way out. This is a full card front size. So I do want to bring it in a little bit, but I'm going to do kind of a little bit of a ground and then some sky around that. All right, so I'm going to do some E4s, some darker ones on the ground, and then we'll do kind of a series of blues through the sky. All right, here we go. So on the sky, I'm going to color from dark to light, and I am starting with a B97. So pretty dark with that 7 at the end, and also extremely desaturated, meaning it's got a lot of gray in it. That's that 9 right to the side of the B97. And then I'm going to switch over. I'm going to get that nice kind of heavy color in. And it's not completely even because I am going to overlap the next blue into that color. And notice I've kind of left a V shape coming down. I'm trying to give the appearance of kind of that glowing light coming from that star. So the next color I've got is B24, and I'm coloring all the way back into the B97 and coming further out into that white area. I'm going to do the same thing with my next color. I've got B12, and I'm going back into the B24 and really working that edge so it blends right into the B12. So you're going to notice I'm going more saturated, getting that first number on the marker lower, and then I'm also getting lighter, the value number at the end getting lower. This is a B00 that I'm working with now. Again, working from the B12 into the white area, and then I'm using a colorless blender. And I've done this a couple times before, and it really depends on what paper I'm working on if I can get this to blend all the way. It's softened the edge, but I still want it to have a little bit more of a fade effect. So I've got my BG000, and that I'm going to overlap the B00 into that white area, and then I'll fade it a little bit more with that colorless blender. And that is going to get that sky finished up. Now, one of the benefits of Copic markers, if you've been playing with these for a while, is you can go back and forth. So where I see things not blending very well, I can go back, hit those again. If I've overlapped something, I accidentally got a little blue onto the cow, so I went back, got that fixed up again, use a little bit of that really, really pale red in the little cow's muzzle as well to finish him back up and brighten up those pinks. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by. If you've got questions about the images or the inks or Copic markers in general, just add those to the comments below. I'm always happy to try to answer anything you guys are asking or curious about. Stop by scrapweaver.com to see all my up-to-date live doings. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Have a happy, colorful day.